Let's wrap 2025 up with all the stats with the best and the worst TV shows and movies I watched this year. And here I will share my rankings, the most viewed genres, the platforms that I used the most. So if you're into stats, this video is for you, and maybe you will find some recommendations as well. Before I show you all the charts, there are a few things you have to keep in mind, because this is the first time I have fully tracked everything I watched, following the same method all year round, but it's flowed. And since this was the first year, now I know how I can do better next year. But keep these things in mind. First, I used Trakt, which is an app that I wouldn't necessarily recommend simply because I was looking for something that would track both TV shows and films, whereas the most popular ones only track one or the other. I don't know why. But there are several issues with this app. I shared them already in my mid-year review. But something that really messed my stats is that you can only list a show or a season once. So the first time you watched it, and this doesn't allow you to track anything you've been rewatching, either a season in preparation for the new one or a movie. So I tried to fix this by adding them directly on Notion, because first I would watch a movie, right at the end I would give a ranking as I feel it right there and then, which is why maybe now I would give them different rankings, but I kept them as they were so that it's all as transparent as possible. Then I would transfer, I don't know, once a week or something, everything I tracked on the app Trakt and on Notion, where I've been building basically a database. But since I'm only using the free version of both apps, I only have the right to use, for example, one table that can be turned into charts and I can get all the stats from in Notion, and this would be way easier if I were to do it directly on Trakt with the paid version, though I'm not entirely sure what you can get with that, so I don't know. If you use it, let me know. And I haven't been doing it directly in Notion because I haven't found a pretty or easy way to put a poster in my database, so it doesn't look as good. And since I'm a visual person, I need visuals to recognize things easily. Every month it was easier for me to also have tracked. If I forgot what this movie was about, I would easily open that app and see, okay, this is the movie we're talking about. But if I only see the title and it wasn't memorable, well, it's not as easy for me to remember it. I've been using the Trakt ranking system as well. It may be bad, good, I don't know. I just try to use one system and stick to that for the whole year, and this is it. For the genres, platforms, and ratings, we do not count any rewatch. Otherwise, most movies rating 10 would be in December and would always be the same year after year, because I tend to rewatch a series of movies, for example, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, stuff like that. And so that would skew, do you say that? The rest of the stats for the year. So for that, we're not counting any rewatch. And I did not include any movie I gave up on, not even if I was already halfway through it and just gave up because I couldn't care less or something, because there was no consistent way to track something like this on the Trakt app. In Notion, maybe yes, but by the time I realized this was an issue, I hadn't been tracking these for the previous months, so I didn't want to mess this year up. I will try to fix it for the next one. And finally, I included shows I did not finish, so they do go into the category DNF, just like with the books on BookTube, for example, because either the last season is out, but it's not available where I live yet, for example, The Handmaid's Tale. I'm still waiting for the final season. And so this means that I plan on watching these shows as soon as I can. I didn't give up on them on purpose. But these may also be things that I've been watching for a while, then I wasn't in the mood anymore, but there was nothing wrong with the shows themselves. And so I would like to keep watching these series at some point, but I don't know when. It may depend on the season, so if it's something that feels like spring, I will wait for spring and so on. But if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might know that my mood deeply affects my watch list. Are you also a mood watcher? Let me know. In 2025, I watched 381 between movies, TV shows, and one documentary. In this number, we are including everything I rewatched as well. But if you're just talking about something that I watched for the very first time, either a season, a whole show, or a movie, we are left with 326 movies, TV shows, documentary. If we only want to look at TV shows, these are 91. Of these, 13 were miniseries. For now, we never know when they decide to turn a miniseries into a TV show, but for now, they're miniseries. Of these, 88 were new to me. If we look at the total number of movies I watched this year, it's 291. 6 of these were short films. But if we look at movies I watched for the very first time this year, we are left with 238. Of these, 2 were short films. If you're curious about the distribution of these movies and TV shows, it's more or less stable, but I never even thought about this. So let's see. In January we have 20 in total, 12 movies and 8 shows. In February, 25. Of these, 22 were movies. In March, 23. And here we are only talking about something that is new. But this month you can see I watched more TV shows than movies. In April, I only watched 16 new TV shows and movies, respectively 7 and 9. In May, I watched 35 movies and shows, respectively 20 and 15. In June, I watched 23 movies and 8 TV shows, 31 in total. In July, I watched 25 movies and 12 series, for a total of 37. In August, I watched 1 documentary, 25 movies and 5 TV shows. The total is 31. In September, I was traveling a lot and I watched 28 of these 25 movies and 3 TV shows. In October, I watched 33 new TV shows or movies. Of these, 30 were movies and 3 were TV shows. In November, 24 movies and 5 series, so we get a total of 29. And this month I was also rewatching a lot of things. And finally, in December, I only watched 19 new things. Of these, 14 were movies and 5 were series. I never even thought about how many things I watch during the year, or if the period affects the quantity of things I watch, because it also depends on the quality, to be honest. For example, in March and April, I was really busy watching Severance multiple times. Not only one season, but both seasons that came out, because I was working on a series of deep dives. If you missed them, I'm really proud of those videos. And if you're a fan of Pluribus, you should check them out as well. But I think there might be some mistake in January, because for the very first few days, I don't think I tracked everything, because once again, I was rewatching things, because to me the Christmas season goes on for a while. And so I was still rewatching Christmas movies, for example. And I think that's why January is so low in terms of numbers. And September, well, I was busy traveling and doing other things that wouldn't allow me to sit down and watch anything really. Other than that, I don't know if it's normal to watch these many things. You tell me. But I mean, who cares actually? If we look at the genres I watched the most, I don't think drama counts, because I mean, every other movie or every other show has drama in the genre labels, so does it really count? Not for me, but okay, that's the highest number we have with 183, followed by thrillers. This surprised me, honestly. I didn't divide these into TV shows and movies, but this is the total number. And what doesn't surprise me is sci-fi, followed by fantasy, and then mystery. So these are actually, yes, my go-to genres. And it makes sense as well that the ones I watched the least are superhero, historical, musical, war, dark comedy, and western. Because I don't seek for those as much. And for example, for historical movies and shows, I need to be in the mood. And when I'm in the mood, I might be watching a bunch of those in a row. But I haven't been in the mood for a while, so that's why. And I have a problem with western as well. When I was a kid, I was forced to watch it constantly, and I hated it. Even though, if you missed this video up here, I accidentally love several westerns, rather neo-westerns, but they have a very specific set of criteria for which I choose those over something else in a different genre. I mean, I don't have anything against western. I was just fed up for so many years that now I cannot stand it most of the time. In terms of platforms, in the last video, I was asking you what's your situation in terms of what you have access to, what's annoying to you because you cannot see it, you cannot find it in your country, you cannot watch it without a VPN. And you can see with these platforms more or less where I'm based. So in Europe, I don't know exactly in which countries this is different because I haven't tried that, other than this year, France, UK, Finland, and Italy. But these were the things I had access to. Prime Video, Netflix, Apple TV+, Disney+, TV for the first time in years because I moved back to Italy and there's a TV here. Rakuten TV, which I don't know even how you're supposed to pronounce it. To me, it sounds like Finnish because that's where I found it for the first time, and then I realized I can watch it from here as well. I don't know. HBO Max, which I cannot access now here. But in Finland, yes. YouTube, AMC, which actually, I don't know if it's correct because I don't have direct access to AMC. Rather, I have to watch it through Netflix or something else. I don't remember. And finally, Hulu, same issue. Hulu productions are only available to me via Disney Plus or Prime Video, I think. And this is why you can see Prime Video as the main platform. No matter how much I hate Amazon, it's the only reliable one that has such a huge variety. I pay for it once because I need it for other things. That's how I got it in the first place. When I was in Finland, it helped me a lot because there's no Amazon in Finland, so whenever I had to purchase something, usually tech, I would get a little discount or something through Amazon Prime because everything was more expensive since I had to ship it to Finland. Here in Italy, it's so convenient that it's ridiculous, so once again, I use it for tech mostly, but it's the only platform that really allows me to watch other things that wouldn't be accessible otherwise. So I'm keeping it until someone else comes up with something better. This was the year of Apple TV Plus for me, because since watching Severance for the first time a few years back, I hadn't seen anything from them, whereas this year I was watching it while it was released weekly. And that's why I had the chance also to watch a bunch of things. Well, actually, last year too, if you remember, in my best TV shows, I listed C because I think it might have been Foundation, the reason why I was subscribed. But I watched everything in the 7 days trial, so I didn't pay for anything. And I watched all seasons of C in those 7 days. Whereas this year, I actually subscribed to Apple TV Plus. And I did it for a few months. So first for a couple of months, and then the second time for Foundation for the 3rd season, and now once again for Pluribus. But if I were to suggest you one platform and you are into sci-fi, this is the one. And I have a whole video about this actually. And Netflix I subscribe on and off, depending on whatever is available. Disney Plus I resubscribed simply because I wanted to show Pixar movies to my mother, who never watched them before. And those were a bunch of movies I rewatched with her. And Rakuten TV has a smaller selection of free things you can watch. And then you can choose to pay individually if you really want to see something, or I never even considered subscribing because I could find the same things either on Prime Video or Netflix, for example. If you're curious about how many movies I watched per year, so when they were released, this is the whole list. I haven't found a perfect way to show the years in the TV shows entries, because you see here, for example, 2005 to 2019, which I believe is Supernatural. So it looks a bit messy. Or the other one is 2017 and then ongoing. I'm not even sure. Maybe it's Foundation. I don't know. So I haven't found a pretty way to list the years in my Notion. But you can clearly see that the majority of films was released in 2025. And now let's get into some titles, finally. And these are all the things I did not finish, but I still plan on finishing. For example, Big Sky, Freerun, Murderbot. Oh, there's a mistake, I think. Because I did finish Murderbot, but I left it there. I think, okay, so I didn't finish it in the same month, I guess. And then I forgot to update that entry. You see, there are still mistakes, I'm sorry. The Flash, Countdown, Hunters, Slow Horses. I know it's super popular. I got tired of it. And I need to be in the mood for that kind of show. The Apothecary Diaries, you know why? This one and Freerun. They both looked beautiful. Interesting stories too, but the problem is that the episodes were too short, and at the end and at the beginning there was either the recap or the spoilers for the following episode, something like that. So even though I was watching them one after the other, those episodes, I think the problem was on Prime Video. I'm not sure. But basically, that was bothering me so much because it would break my concentration, my workflow, because I was putting those in the background while working, like video editing. And that was so annoying that I had to give up. So I don't know if maybe on Netflix that's not a problem or vice versa. I'm not sure, but that's why I gave up on those, and at some point I will pick them up again. Your Friends and Neighbors. This was on Apple TV+, highly recommended by everyone, yet I was bored. And I love the actor who plays the protagonist, yet, I don't know, there was something that didn't work for me. But it wasn't bad, and that's why I put it in this category. Invisible City, Smoke, and The Ore Murders. Once again, I wasn't in the mood anymore and just moved on. And if you're curious of what do I rewatch, it makes sense because it's mostly Christmas things, scary things for spooky season. And you can tell by this chart here, it's either this, that, or an animated movie that my mother had never seen before, and so I subscribed to Disney Plus again just to show them to her.